Heyo, welcome everyone to Today in the Scene by Indie Arcade Wave. I'm Joe, your host, and here on In the Scene, we dive into what's happening in the arcade space, from arcade owners and operators, arcade developers, pretty much anything new, as well as pinball. We're starting to dive into pinball a little bit. I want to go back a little bit here. So I want to have a guest on that we had on almost 100 episodes. I'm really excited to talk to Ian again. Before we jump into that, I just want to remind everybody that I am now selling Stern pinballs. So if you're interested in getting a new or used Stern, feel free to reach out, indiearcadewave@gmail.com. Still have all the indie games, ice cold beer, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So if that's something you want to add to your game room or arcade, let me know and we'll hook it up. Now we're diving back into Propeller Arcade in Halifax, Nova Scotia. We've got the owner, Ian, with us. It's been over 3 years since we last interviewed him. It was episode 75. So things have changed quite a bit. I want to see how Ian has changed, his view on the arcade has changed, and what he's doing different from what he was doing before. So how you doing, Ian?
Yo, what's going on? I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you back. We've been going back and forth. I got some merch from you. You sent me this dope ass shirt when I was down in Florida at the time, and it's funny actually. You sent me this shirt the day I got it. I met a guy who was traveling down from Nova Scotia to Florida. He was wintering there, and I mentioned, I was like, "Are you familiar with Halifax?" He's like, "Yeah, I grew up in Halifax. Like, I'm aware of Propeller Arcade and all this stuff." I was like, "This is so crazy that I go as far away, like as far south as I can go on the continent, and he knows of your arcade." Like, just such a cool experience. But let's introduce you again. Who is Ian? What do you do?
That's crazy about running into somebody that far down. That's awesome. That's wicked. My name's Ian Matheson. I run and co-own Propeller Arcade, which is an offshoot of Propeller Brewery in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And the arcade operates out of the basement and an old brewery. Probably the last time we talked, I can't really remember if the brewery was still there. A lot of things have changed. It's been years. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this and compare how seasoned I am now and to then, I guess.
Yeah, I think at that time the brewery was still there. So this was, I think we agreed on February 2022.
Yeah.
You did a tour. You started outside and you walked in. I believe the brewery was there, and then you went into the basement to show the arcade. There was so much about the arcade that stood out, like almost immediately. And I guess let's start from the beginning. Like, how did all this come together? How did you get into the arcade space in the first place?
Crazy. So yeah, I love talking about this because I haven't really talked about it with anybody in years now, and I do think about it a lot as like motivation. Like if something doesn't work out, like um, with the space, like I do think back to what it once was versus what it is now, which is a whole different entity. But to kind of to rewind it a bit, I'm gonna have to blow the dust off of my brain here. It's been put through the ringer the past few years, almost 7 years now, which is nuts. Before, yeah, I was working at like a music store that kind of had its like my feet nailed to the ground, and the company, thank God, went bankrupt in Canada, and they ceased to exist. So I took like a year off and was like, I'm gonna focus on what I want to do, and I didn't really know that. I knew I wanted to muck around with like pinball machines in arcades because that's what I was doing anyway to kind of stay sane. So me and some friends that I kind of met in like like this small pinball group that existed in Halifax at the time, we're kind of like just going from business to business. Like it felt like we were like selling Tupperware or something weird. Like we were just going through and we'd have like a pinball machine and be like, if you put this in here, we would love to come and play it and, drink beer and just look for a place to do this. And we're like relatively normal, so it won't like annoy your staff or anything. After a while, some places took them, but they kind of like, not to knock on them, they just didn't get it. Like, if you design a business and you put a lot of thought into the aesthetic and everything like that, maybe you don't want like a half-naked barbarian dude riding a dragon on this machine that makes a ton of noise in the corner. So like, I totally understand that. A friend of mine happened to work at Propeller, and they said they would take the games for like a week, which was sick. So we loaded in all these games. It worked out really well, and then like a week became like 2 weeks. 2 weeks became like all of Christmas, and I knew that a basement existed there, and that's like anybody in Halifax was familiar with Propeller because they would do this legendary tour where you could go in and for like 3 hours you could drink all you wanted, and they would give you like an auxiliary cable, and you just like blast your own music, sit at a giant copper table, and like just drink a whole bunch. And then you could go into this basement, which was the brewery, and have like a tour. And so yeah, I got a job at Propeller working the front cash, and decided that I was going to make it my mission to stop at nothing to see if I could, get this basement, not like from them, but just in like a collaborative effort. I was in no position to like start a bar or anything like that. I just wanted a place to play pinball, and I knew people liked it. After, a while of just sounding like a broken record, I'm sure they rolled the dice, they took a chance, and it was next thing I knew, I was like building this arcade with like no experience. Like I was using the power tools I had never touched before. I was just like reading a book. I would finish my shift and go downstairs and like figure out what I'm going to do for hours after close, and then like go home, sleep a couple hours, come back, work a shift, and repeat it. And then then the arcade opened, and it just popped off. And it was very small when it opened. I'm talking like, at the time it seemed like the biggest place in the world, but the reality of it was maybe 12 machines, maybe a couple pinball machines, and some arcades that a friend who wanted to see me succeed gifted me on like a I guess that would have been like my first business loan. And it just kept growing. It kept growing and growing. That was January 2019. January 31st, 2019 was the opening day of it.
Yeah, I love that story and the way that it all evolved and developed. And what you said at the end there was basically your first business loan, like, right, somebody in the community lending you games so that this could succeed and this could grow. Talk about how important since open the community has been to the growth of Propeller, and I mean, propelling you forward to actually continue with the business.
I mean, right off the bat, like once it started, everybody in like I'll reference the pinball league, especially in the beginning of it, because everybody was playing out of people's houses. Like people would have like a private collection or whatever. Amazing games, awesome, but like, you can only invite a league full of like beer drinking people to come over to your house and like right off your bathroom so many times a year, you know what I mean? And we would all go to like, I remember, man, we went to the casino once to play pinball. Fucking wild feeling, just like sitting in the corner of a casino playing an AC/DC pinball machine. Like that was one of the only places that had one then, and it was the most time I ever spent in a casino. But once this popped off, there's a select few of people in the league, but everybody, the reality of it was everybody realized the opportunity that we got, that we had been working for, and everybody just kind of threw everything my way like they could, like an arsenal, because they knew that I couldn't do all this immediately. So everybody, like, so crazy important, man. Like, so important. There was games that, like, are collectors' dreams, like stuff that some people go to conventions to see and they don't even find them. And these people were just like giving them to me to turn a profit on, to show that this thing was like people cared about it, but more so because they knew that these games had the draw that got them into it. So they knew if people came in off the street that had never seen a pinball machine or anything before, they were going to play this game. Good game, specifically that I'm thinking about, is Centaur. People would play it and people would get like that crazy like 5-ball drop in Centaur, not really have any idea what they're doing, but they would get it. Like whatever the thing is that pulls you into it, it latched onto them. And the community just started to really grow, whether you were part of the pinball league or whether you just became like a regular to come down there and play games and shoot the shit and watch whatever was on like a tiny TV behind the bar. Like it just aggressively started to expand more, like way bigger than the room could offer. And it was connected to this massive brewery, but it's hard to describe. But like in a video that you'll see of a walkthrough, you come down some concrete stairs and then you walk into the arcade and you kind of see the top bar. And it didn't even really look like that then. And then you'll see steps that go into the brewery. And that brewery was like, it was cut off. There's like a deck to the right of the entrance. That wasn't there. That was just like a pit full of random garbage. And man, that place was like, it was packed when we opened. You know, I always felt weird going back to the company and being like, hey, thanks for like taking this chance on me, but it'd be sick if we could make it bigger, because it's like, I like cringe every time I'm thinking about that, because the last thing you want to do is just get ahead of yourself. Luckily it worked each time. But like, yeah, the community response right off the bat, man, like I was so scared of everything happening, because like I get so hyped up about something and then this thing happens where like the night before it's about to be released or unveiled, whether it's a movie screening or whether it's, I don't know, opening an arcade, it just kind of hits me. And it's like, I think I said this in the last interview as well. It's like, man, what if no one gives a shit? You know, what if this is all in my head? And it's really easy for people to want to support you and be like, you should do this. Go ahead and do it. But it's like, you know, you're putting so much into it. And the biggest thing is I'm giving this company my word, you know, and I'm trying to come off like a professional, even though I've never done this before. I just know that it's going to work because it makes sense. And then you just kind of doubt yourself. Luckily, yeah, the community like flipped that on its head. Like everybody came out and didn't stop coming out. We had like news stations showing up. I was not prepared for it at all. Sometimes I watch like those like news clips from like the first or second week. Like I'm so scared. I have no idea what's happening. I haven't eaten in like 2 weeks. And but yeah, man, the community like continues to blow my mind. And it's so big now. Like I've met so many people that I will still like talk to on like like even on like a texting basis, like people that are just my friends, like friends for life now and stuff. I never would have met if this didn't happen. And you know, the company was very receptive of that, and they maintained, you know, we maintained a pretty healthy relationship.
I think that's great. I mean, like the community is everything. Pretty much no matter what you're doing, anything business related, like the community is what you need to build for longevity. And that's so great that you still have the same people coming back almost 7 years later, playing the same games. You know, I'm sure you've upgraded quite a bit since then. And like there's so much to unpack from what you just said there. Like the casino thing, I had never played pinball in a casino until a couple months ago when I went out to see the new Starcade, which is in Washington, PA. It's in the basement of a Hollywood casino. And I think there's like 150 games down there or something pretty soon here. And that, I mean, playing pinball down there was different. Like the casino wants to keep you there. I think I played pinball for like 6 or 7 hours. Like it was a long day. It was a lot of fun.
Wow.
But that's so cool. That's kind of like where it all started for you. And Like Centaur is a great game to have in there, and it's totally reason for a draw. And I think that's so cool. All of this growth. You mentioned the bar. I see the VHS behind you. We talked about that a little bit last time. So let's talk a little bit about first off your bar top, because I think that's one thing that's like incredibly unique about your location. And then second off, like talk about what it's like screening movies, because you're playing all these old, like some are really niche, like hard to find movies, and some are just like awesome action flicks from back in the day. So tell me kind of like what that process has been like.
Oh man, the bar top. I wasn't sure. Yeah, I couldn't remember if that was part of the last interview or not. But yeah, now that I think about it, it was. So yeah, the bar top at the arcade is just like it's VHS covers. It's very easy for anyone to kind of like to do something like that, and especially with like everything coming back and the word like nostalgia and retro get thrown around like it's nobody's business. And sometimes you can tell when somebody does something that they think is like retro or nostalgic to kind of hit that mark, but they don't like you don't really understand it. You know what I mean? It's a bit more than like a neon grid. Like there's something that you can if it's done right, you can like you watch it impact somebody on the spot. It's like you're opening up a part of their mind that they forgot about, and you're witnessing it, and it's a wicked moment. That bar top for me isn't just like, you know, some people come in and they'll see it and they'll say, "Oh my God, these like all these like shitty VHS, bad VHS." So I guess some of the movies aren't that great. Specifically, those movies, I didn't use the actual covers, like I didn't cut them up or anything, but a lot of them came from this video store that I grew up in a kid called Max Video, and I was obsessed with it. Like it, that carved such a big piece of my childhood. I watched so many movies I shouldn't have been watching at ages like 6 years old, 7 years old, and every time I would walk into that video store and I'd see like the wall, like any wall tape, there'd be a horror section, there'd be a sci-fi section, there'd be a family section. Anytime I'd see that, I remember just this like huge wave of just like almost being super overwhelmed and not knowing what I'm going to get and everything like that. And I was like, well, if that can happen when somebody's waiting for a drink at a bar and they accidentally look down and kind of get that feeling, then it's like, it's, you know, it's a little bit extra with whatever they're doing at the bar. That's what I see when I do it, and that's what makes me feel grounded and welcomed, and you know, remind me that this place is uniquely like my vision. And there's no shortage of arcades now. Like, you know, they pop up, sometimes they disappear, but the bar top was like a big thing to remind myself that that this was something that I worked really hard on, and it does have that impact on me still. Like what you had mentioned with going into movie screenings, that was something that dawned on me. I can't remember at what point. I want to say, yeah, pretty early on, that the location used to be this theater in the late 80s and early 90s called Wormwood's Dog and Monkey Cinema. And it was a repertory cinema, very art house, and it showed a lot of like everything. There's a lot of controversial films that went down through there, a lot of queer films and stuff. And it moved to a location after that, and that was that was the end of the line for it in the 90s. But I kind of wanted to start doing screenings down there, because before this anyway, I was doing screenings at random bars that my friends worked at as an excuse to watch movies with a bunch of people and have a beer or whatever. And we did one. The first one we did was Hobo with the Shotgun, because it was local, it involved some friends, and it just seemed like a good idea. It seemed like the right one. That popped off. Looking back on it in my mind, I was like, man, there was like hundreds and hundreds of people there. I think like the capacity was like 60, which is crazy. COVID comes and goes. That's all the time I want to give COVID on this. But like, we started doing screenings again, and it got bigger. And then the brewery disappeared. And I, you know, had a long talk with the company and was like, what if we just started to slowly utilize this space to its full capacity? You know, they have such bigger operations now, and they're a way larger entity. They've grown so well. And they said, yeah. And then it was like, wow, now we got this full theater space to, like, you know, to the arsenal. And I talked to a friend who owns a theater company and was like, what can we do? And he was like, let's just go absolute batshit with this. Like, better sound systems, bigger screen. The seating went up from like from I think we were doing like 60, 70 people, and then it went to 140. And the screenings just kept selling out. Like, there'd be times we go to open the store and it'd be physical tickets only, because I've always felt that, like, with that number of tickets, if somebody's going to come down and get it, they're committed to the cause. It's very easy for you to buy something on your phone like you do every day, and then it just gets lost in that. But if you buy a physical ticket that is made by, like, you know, an artist in Halifax for this film, it's like, you got that, and people collect that stuff. And we'd go to open the store at like 11:59, and it opens at 12, and there'd be like a lineup down Gottingen Street in Halifax. And I'm like, there was a time when we opened the door and there was like 100 people in a line. Like, tickets were gone, people were trying to get them. It's crazy response. So we keep doing that. Now we do it so much because the response is just like going crazier and crazier. Starting on Monday, we'll be doing this thing that I call the 6-pack, where we'll just turn the place into a movie theater for 6 days and 6 movies, try to kind of jump around a little bit on the genre train, like put in a lot of deep cuts that I know people haven't seen, but they're willing to take a chance because they like stuff I've shown before. And then also, like, put in that, you know, like really reliable stuff. Like, we're going to do Starship Troopers and Escape from New York. But also to take, instead of just showing those movies that are readily accessible, like, you can stream basically anything. I try to do twists on them that offer an experience that you're only going to get, and you're kind of rewarded by, like, supporting like a really indie cinema. And in Halifax, we don't have an independent cinema. We just have a chain cinema, and it sucks. And, like, that's not much of a variety. So when people come, I'll do stuff like we did Terminator 2, and I did a scan of the original 35 millimeter print. And, you know, when you get to talk to the audience about it and be like, you know, here's the difference. Like, it just got released on 4K. Yeah, it looks great, but they've completely bled all the color from the film. It's a very blue and orange film. And so, you know, showing them like a 35 millimeter print, people see that and they get it, and it's a whole different experience for film to them. And then they come back for something like that the next time, even if it's a movie that they've seen 100 times, or maybe it's something they've never even heard of and they just want to roll the dice on it. It's become such a big thing that it's really altering the space again. Like, I made this joke that if I could, like, try to describe the space in like a Dragon Ball Z universe, it's like when you just, maybe not everyone's going to get this, but like as a kid, you just would watch like the Namek saga and it just never ended. And then like Frieza would just like transform into a different version and keep going. And you had no idea when this thing was going to end. And it's like, every time I feel like it's in its final form, it's like, man, here we go. It just like turns into something else. And, without jumping the gun a little bit, I feel like that's just around the corner again, and it's like it's like starting fresh all over again.
I love that you have this opportunity to bring something so unique and interesting to Halifax that no one else is doing. I don't know anybody in the US that's doing what you're doing. So, I mean, I can think of maybe 1 or 2 arcades that might do a showing here and there. I think they're out in California, but like, you don't see it regularly, and you don't see, you know, deep cuts. You don't see weird movies that people haven't seen or haven't heard of. So you've cut out this interesting niche for yourself where you're doing something that no one else is doing, and you see the potential of like something else. Like, this could be cool. Let's roll the dice on this. This could be cool. Let's roll the dice on that. and you're not afraid of the failure of it because the community is behind you, so you can at least give it a solid go. I think that's really, really cool. And it's one reason why, I mean, your arcade sticks out to me so much. Like I just keep coming back to it. We keep talking. We've been talking the whole time since the last interview.
Yeah.
And it makes me think back to the last interview. I just watched it before this one, and I want to hear your take on it now. Why the arcade? Like, why did you go that avenue when there were so many other things you could have done in the space? Like, why did you choose to open an arcade?
Damn, I can't remember my old answer.
That's good. I don't want you to remember the old one. I want to
sure
see if you're still there.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna go watch it after this. I just thought, like, looking back on it now, and like, you know, when we did that last interview, man, I felt like I was drowning. Like I was very, like, it was so much all at once, and the place expanding, and like, it just didn't stop. And you know, looking back at it now, with somebody who has a better grasp of the business side of things, you know, this, like, the company must have thought I was a lunatic. It's amazing that they took the chance. You know what I mean? Like, I meant everything I said when I was trying to sell them on it. But you know, from their perspective, like, I was just some kid. I wasn't even a kid. I was like 28, but like, you know, preaching something that they openly didn't understand. They knew what it was, but they also live in Halifax, and Halifax at that point was like the craft beer place. Like, we had more breweries per capita in Canada, this massive craft beer boom. So like, their minds must have been completely stressed out. Like, all of a sudden you go from being one of the only places in the city to being one of like 1,000, and every day that number changes. And then on top of this, you just have this like guy buzzing around your head like a mosquito, being like, you know, it would be sick on top of all this stuff you have to deal with if we changed half the brewery into an arcade. And they're like, what? I guess, like, why the arcade? It's just what was keeping me sane at the time. Like, you know, like I said, I worked in this like music store with some friends and stuff like that. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. And I could kind of feel it coming. And I like took a year off that I damn well couldn't afford. But I somehow managed to make it work by routing pinball machines. And it just, like, you know, I was broke from doing it. I still woke up like stoked about it. And it was like, yeah, well, like, I know if I get stoked about it, somebody else is going to get stoked about it. And if I'm stoked about it, I'm going to be able to sell it honestly. Rather than, you know, I don't know, go on a business website, see what's hot and trending, and pretend like I know what the hell is, why it's trending. Like, it's not, I don't know how to do that. Like, if I don't have interest in it, I don't give, like, it's not that I don't give a shit about it. It's just, I'm not going to sit there and pretend like I know enough about it to run a successful business. That would scare the shit out of me. Some people do that and they do it successfully, and it's very impressive. And that's a big part of business. But like, I could never, like, I don't think I could ever pull that off. Like, I would just want to do it because I think it's right, and I feel like it would blow up if it did it. And especially, yeah, given at that time in Halifax, so many craft breweries. There was no place to play arcades or pinball. You drink as much beer as you want, but there was like no place to play pinball. It turns out, with some research over the years prior, turns out drinking beer and playing pinball was pretty fun. And there was a community of people that agreed with me. So I was like, you know, if all these people are right about it, then maybe the general public will get a taste of it and have my back with it. So I guess, yeah, why the arcade? It just worked out that way. And like what you said about like it being different than other places, like in the States, and there's places that do shows and stuff. I see a lot of arcades pop up in breweries. It's not like an uncommon thing, especially now. But they're like active breweries. Like I see a lot of places post these wicked pictures of like pinball machines lined up, and there's like bright tanks all behind them and through the brewery, and everything's like crisp and clean and new, and you can play pinball and watch these brewers do their thing. And like the reality of the situation is, this is not a crisp new place. This is a building that has been several things. It used to be a strip club in the 70s. It used to be a carpenter's union hall. It used to be a movie theater. And then it was a brewery. And somehow, by stroke of hilarity, it's basically a movie theater again in 2025. Which if you went and told that to somebody like in 2018, they would have called you crazy. But it's just I don't know. Doesn't even have a single window in it. Go figure.
I mean, you don't need windows for an arcade. I mean, it's nice to get sunlight, but at the same time, like, if you're in the dungeon for hours and hours, you have no idea how long you've been there. You're just there having a good time, enjoying the games and the atmosphere and the camaraderie with the community that you're hanging out with. So I think that's a completely different answer than you gave last time. I like that because it just gave a different avenue, showing like the growth that you've had over time. And when you were talking about like running a business that you're interested in, I just got like, it was nothing but like integrity, sincerity, and like, I mean, just being your authentic self. You know, you're not trying to be anyone else. You're not trying to portray something else. You're not trying to like just make money quick. You're doing something you truly love and letting the money come your way, which, I mean, that's what it should be. You know, like, we don't need billions and billions of dollars in the bank account. If you're not happy, that's not going to matter. You know, I mean, so many people talk about that, like they can have all the money in the world, but they're still miserable. So
yeah,
it's, if you're not doing something you enjoy every single day, what's the point of living? You know, you're letting that time go waste, and you have so little of it. I love the showings. I love the arcade. I want to hear, it's been a few years again on this question. I want to know, what are you looking for the arcade? Like, what are the grails that you're looking for? Last time you said Orbiter 1. You mentioned like your earliest arcade memory was Narc. So what are you looking for these days to add to the arcade?
I still want Orbiter 1. Like I was talking to somebody about that. Like I put some pinball machines at another Propeller location, like nowhere near what the arcade is. This is just like a little area that they had to fill. And I put like 3 or 4 pinball machines in there, and I put a new like Stern X-Men in there, and a lot of the staff took to it, and then they started kind of getting hooked on pinball and coming around the arcade to play pinball more. And every time, man, I'll be like, man, I'll blow your mind. I just pull up Orbiter 1 on my phone, and they're like, man, what is this? I'm like, this is like every pinball person's worst nightmare, except mine. like I love it. Narc is 1 floor below me right now in my house, not working for the past like year and a half, but it's so far down a list of stuff that needs to get fixed. Still won't get rid of it though. What else am I looking for the arcade? I really don't like anything weird. Like I love pinball. Like if you haven't figured that out yet, I mean, like, you know, like pinball's amazing, and it has this ability to pull in and create a community from like that. Arcades, really fun. Keeping them going, huge pain in the ass, but whatever. But I always get really stoked on like the Bizarro games, like this game that can't be a clone of anything else and just exists as its own thing in this universe of arcades. Like, you know, like a good example of that is Ice Cold Beer. If you've played Ice Cold Beer, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, look it up, go find one and play it, and you'll figure it out pretty quick. It'll either make your day or derail your entire life. games that are like that go outside the norm of like a CRT2 joysticks, two flippers, a ramp, pinball. All those things can be different in their own way, but like the games that really stick out, like I'm trying to think. I can never really think of them right now. Ice Cold Beer is like one of those. I'd say like the king example of those games. Really bizarre skill games that don't have like a monitor in them. They usually have a tiny ball, and you got to just like calm your nerves and get it to the top or the bottom or in a certain hole, or you put your quarter in and you have to flick it a certain way to go up and without going over and fall into the next realm. Love that shit. That's anything like that is what I'd love to add down
there. Yeah, I agree. Ice Cold Beer, one of my favorites by far. I'm actually working with Retro Arcade Remakes. They helped us with Galactic Battleground, Food Fight Frenzy, a couple games. They're doing remakes, officially title licensed. I have them for sale if anybody wants one. They fit in the arcade so well. And I don't know if you saw the episode, Ian, but I did interview the world record holder for Ice Cold Beer. I don't know, over a year ago. He was down in Tampa, and he was talking about like how he set the record. I think it was 35 hours, 36 hours or something that he played straight to get the world record. I was like, this is insane. He had so many balls saved up that he took like a 50-minute nap to like refresh himself. He said he was like hallucinating at 3 a.m. because it was just like there's nobody in there. He just heard 99 bottles of beer on the wall over and over and over and over. He was like, that night that I had to get through with nobody in there drove me insane. But he ended up pulling it off. He has the world record for, I think, 15-minute, an hour, and then all-time high score. And it's just such a wild game that if I see it in an arcade, I'm absolutely playing it. Like, I am not passing on it. I got to beat all 10 levels. I think the best I've done is like 8 the second time around. So like 8,000-ish points. I haven't rolled it. That's my next goal. But man, that game is like nothing else. And
yeah,
I totally feel the pinball thing with you. Like I haven't gotten deep into fixing them, but man, I'm falling in love with them. Like if I go to an arcade and it doesn't have pinball, I'm a little disappointed. Have you played Orbiter 1 or have you just seen it?
I've never played it. I've always wanted to. There's like I'm the biggest arcade here, right? And like next to like Palladium, but that's like a whole different thing. I don't know who else in their right mind would go after an Orbiter 1 here that's not me. So I'm just kind of like, if I want to play it, I'm gonna have to figure that out. And I'm like, right, shit, yeah. What you were talking about, Ice Cold Beer, that's like the perfect follow-up to me. Like, to anybody listening to this, and I said, like, it'll either make your day or derail your life. Yeah, you might find yourself in a closed business at 3 a.m. trying to beat this guy's world record, because like that's a thing, man. Like that's a thing. We have Polaroids of people who have beaten Ice Cold Beer on the wall behind the bar. People come in, they haven't been there in like 4 years. They come in, the first thing they do is they see if the Polaroid's still there, and they're like, all right. It's like, yeah, don't worry, man. We know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I have played Orbiter, I think twice, but I was it might have been at Replay Museum in Tampa. I feel like they might have had one. There were a few spots that I'm thinking of that might have had it. I know I can find it through my walkthroughs, but I can't remember where I played it. It was frustrating. To say the least. I was like, what the hell is going on with this? I don't understand what I'm trying to do. And it's such a weird and unique game that if you ever come across it, you have to play it just to be able to say you've played it and like experienced. It has to be one of the weirdest pinballs ever made. Like, can you even consider it a pinball? Like it's so strange.
Oh man, I definitely consider it a pinball. I know it was like 1 or 2 dudes from NASA were involved with it. I remember listening to that on a podcast. Like they helped make the gloves or a toilet that you shit in space or something like that. they worked on this, which I think is like so psychotic that pinball was so big at one time. That was Stern's last game of
Right.
like the golden era. And imagine being like, listen, we got to do something. They're like, just hear me out. We got these two dudes from NASA to help try and save this, like, save us from like Pac-Man and all the shit that like started destroying pinballs. But I love that, like, you could be the best pinball player in the world. You could sit there and like hit the same ramp over and over. You could bang out wizard modes all you want. You go put a quarter in Orbiter 1 and you're like, it's the great equalizer.
Yep.
And that's not like, I'm not saying that because it's a great game. I've never played it. I am just so appreciative of the crazy shift in direction when you look at what they were making anyway.
Yeah.
Let's just make this game that even defies gravity to your visuals. Like, that's cool, man. That's freaking somebody out.
It's a crazy game, and yeah, I'm glad it was made. I don't know that I would ever want to own one, but I think it's really cool that it was made, and it's really cool like that it's something you're aspiring to find eventually. Hopefully you get one. Yeah, I mean, just like, give us final thoughts on the arcade. Like, what else really drives you every day to keep pursuing this and keep building the arcade from, just games in your house? I mean, you mentioned in the last episode, like, you didn't even have a couch. You just put more games in there because you didn't want a couch to take up space. Like, how has that driven you all the way to now of like having all these different games and having your own arcade location where you're showing off movies? Like, what keeps you going?
Okay. Definitely eating those words and getting a couch has made my life way better and less weird. I don't even have a single game in my house. The only ones that are here are just like broken ones that need storage or whatever. But I'd be nothing without my couch. I can assure you that. 2022 Ian had no idea what the hell he was talking about. But I guess why I keep going with the arcade is just I committed to it. I sold this thing to these people who thought I was crazy, maybe a little bit, and to all of our pleasure, it worked out, and it's very much my thing. There's people that go in and recognize it as that. There's people that go in and don't even know who the hell I am or anything. They might have just been stopping over, or they've just lived here their whole life and don't know that. They just go in and they have fun. And I feel like that's a responsibility of this thing that I've created. And sometimes I see, if you like a place, like if you say you have a favorite diner that you go to, and you go to it like 2-3 times a week. There's a place here called the Ardmore. I see those people more than I see my own family. And like, the saddest thing that can happen is one day you go in and things are different, and you can't figure it out just yet. But then you realize, like, the person that made that place what it was sold the business, or they moved on, and now it still has the same name, but like the soul of it is gone. Like, there is something that affects you when you walk into a place that is made with like dedication and no excuses. And if something doesn't work properly, it's not like pointing fingers left and right. It's like just not pumping the brakes until it's running the way you want it to go. And I could never like see that happening. If somebody offered me $1 trillion, well, like, if somebody tried to do that, like, I think I would lose sleep over it, and I couldn't do it just because I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of the customers that have come and gone over the years. I could be having like the worst day of work ever, and like, there are places that are strategically built in that arcade for me to just look at and remind myself that this was a lot of hard work, and not just by me, like, from people who have come and gone over the years, whether they've helped me build something, whether they've had their input on something, whether they've hooked me up with rights to screen a movie for free because they really dug what this place was. there's a piece of that in the walls there, and yeah, I don't like. I've just been so committed to it that I'm like so not done with it yet. If anything, I still feel like I'm just getting started on it. And who knows, man? In like 3 years, we'd be talking again, and God knows what it could be at that point. It might be a missile silo at this rate. I have no idea. Um, well, I do have a little idea of what could happen, but we don't want to get too in on that just yet. Um, but yeah, I think I'm still here because I'm very like I do feel proud of this thing that's been created in the community, and I could never envision half-assing it for those people. So
Yeah, I mean, that kind of ties into like what we were talking about before the interview even started, and like the idea of you're doing all these screenings. It's something that you're very comfortable doing now. You've done so many of them, but like you see the flaws. You see like I could improve on this. I could make this better. This could be more efficient. But everybody else that comes to the screenings is like, that was awesome. You killed it. Like that was the best one yet. Like I can't even imagine how it could get better. And that drive clearly shows through the arcade. Like, I mean, it could be a missile silo, right? Like you have no idea what it's going to be in a couple of years, because you're going to have an idea and you're just going to pursue it. You're not going to be scared of what could come from it. You're just going to pursue it. And I think that's great. Like that's something that every business should have. They shouldn't be afraid of change, because change is how you stay relevant, especially in a space like this. You know, if there's 1,000 arcade bars that all have alcohol, all have the same games, what's setting you apart? You know, you got to have either unique pinballs, or you got to have independently developed games that make you stand apart from other people. Because, you know, how long is Pac-Man going to be supported? How long is Galaga and all these things? Like Galaga is one of my favorite games of all time, but you know, I don't play it that much anymore. Like I see it, I play a game, I'm good. You know, I got that hit of nostalgia, and I'm chilling after that. So I'm happy to hear that you're still so interested in it, and there's so many things that you want to do. I'm sure we can talk about that a little more off camera as to what your plans are, but I want to let you just kind of shout out social medias, let people know where they can follow along, and just see where you're at with Propeller Arcade.
oh man, if anybody, like, if you guys want to snoop in and see what the hell is going on in my life and my employees' lives, you can just follow us on Instagram. It's just Propeller Arcade, Halifax's answer to Arcade Bar. You can follow all the social media we do there. You can follow us on Facebook. Gonna be honest with you, don't really pay too much attention to the Facebook. It's sometimes we see it and sometimes we don't, but we're definitely on Instagram more so. You'll see all the like the movie screenings, all the game drops, anything. You'll see anything we want to post about on there. And of course, by following accounts like this and supporting stuff like Indie Arcade Wave, that's really where you're going to get like this whole web of people that all have these passionate stories about why they're doing what they do. And I think that's the best outlet for it, to be completely honest.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to throw all those links in the description. Instagram is where I found you. Instagram is where we talk. So I can say that is definitely the most responsive place that you're going to be able to talk to Ian. I want to say thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate your story. I appreciate your passion. I'm super excited to see where the arcade goes in the future. I'm excited to see new merch, because I mean, I've got 2 shirts now. I know there's going to be more in the future. Just the aesthetic of your merch is so cool. I don't have a lot of arcade merch, but I rock yours all the time.
Damn, dude, that's sick. Thank you.
And I want to say thanks for coming on. For anybody that's still watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us a ton. The wave will continue to grow. We can all ride it together. If you're looking to bring different games into your arcade, whether it be like Ian was talking about, ice cold beer, I've got those. We've got new Stern pinballs. There's one coming soon. We've got indie games. So don't miss out on that stuff. It'll set your arcade apart from the nearest arcade by you. But until next time, peace.